Hey guys, so great to have you back. I feel really inspired. Actually, before I recorded the last podcast with Diane, I had a really powerful meditation, and I just feel it's so valid to talk about it now because I get a lot of questions about, like, what does it mean to sit in your pain? And we touched on that in Diane's episode, and I've touched on that in previous episodes. And I just wanted to dive deeper into that, what it looks like to sit with your pain, not in your pain, because you're not actually sitting in it. We call pain what we call it because of how it makes us feel. It makes us feel uncomfortable. It makes us feel irritated. It makes us feel like we don't want to be experiencing whatever we're experiencing, whether that's a physical sensation in our body, an emotion, or some sort of thought that is actually creating like a chemical reaction.
Welcome to Winning the Divine Lottery. I'm your host, Amy Dawes.
So this episode, I just wanted to like dive right in on what works for me, what sitting with your pain. Let's just call it that, sitting with your pain, because you're not your pain. And if you can think of the way you sit with a friend when they're struggling, the way you sit with an animal, the way you sit with a child, who might be having a difficulty or experiencing some sort of emotion, let's start to realize that your pain is not you, and it's something that you actually so powerfully have the capacity to sit with, because when you sit with it, you then become the space of its transformation, of whatever it needs to be transformed. And that is through your witnessing, through your observation, through your awareness. And with that just comes so much love and compassion. And this is the thing that I talk about has grown within me the most through meditation, through my spiritual practice, and through working in groups and also with one-on-one clients. Compassion and grace, compassion and grace. I just can't say it enough. So just last week, I was in a meditation, and then it felt like out of nowhere, I was really experiencing discomfort in my body. And I've done meditation enough times that I understand that when this discomfort comes up in my body, it's getting ready to be seen in the light of you. Because when you're in meditation, you're creating the space for whatever needs to show up. And you practice not running away and not catering and not avoiding and not suppressing. And so when I noticed this discomfort in my body, I knew something was shifting. It was energy shifting. It wanted to be released. It wanted to be transformed. In what way? I didn't know. And then all of a sudden, I started having these memories. It was just like almost like little snippets, little clips from the movie of my life. But it was actually me watching my mom, all of these moments in her life where she was in danger. Now, I want to say that because as little Amy, the way it was showing up for me is my subconscious mind, my nervous system was perceiving my mom being in danger, and the one person that needed to be there was not there, and that was my dad. And so whether my dad could have been there or not is irrelevant. But the way it's showing, this is so important for you to listen and really, really, truly hear this. The way our patterns show up and these things, the pain that wants to be seen in the light of who you are, love, will show up based on how it got held in your body, in your subconscious mind. And so often when we're children and we don't feel safe, our nervous system will think whatever is happening in our external environment is dangerous. There's no one there to protect me. There's nowhere one there to protect my mom. And the perception I had was that's the role that my dad played in my mom's life. So when he was unable to be there and provide that safety for my mom, my body, my subconscious story, my programming held on to this as when my mom is in danger, my dad is not there. And I didn't even realize how many of these times in my life that I witnessed this through this perception. And it only takes one, right? So I'll never forget it. My mom was taking the I don't even know what it's called, you guys, the glue off the window panes, right? And she was sitting at the kitchen table and she was taking them off and she was using an X-Acto knife and she sliced her thumb. And I don't even know how old I was. I was young though, because this is when we lived in Shaunavon and I moved away from there when I was quite young, 6, 7, and we were still living in that house. So I was young, maybe 5. Okay. And so the way my little brain captured that image was my mom was hurt. I saw a lot of blood, which signaled danger, and my dad was not home. And my mom to get a hold of my dad because my dad was out on a trouble call with work. So it wasn't my dad's fault. He was unable to be there. But the way my little mind conceived all of that, and she ended up going to the hospital, and I ended up going to bed. I don't even know who came over to watch me, but I remember the feeling of feeling not safe and worried about my mom and nobody being there to protect her. So I was like, I'm just a kid. How am I supposed to protect my mom, right? So I internalized that as trauma, as danger, and I felt unsafe and I went to bed and I remember I was so worried about her and then she came home in the middle of the night and she ended up waking me up to tell me that everything was going to be okay. So this was the first memory I had. And because that had such an effect and emotional impact on me, any other scenario that triggered that feeling of being unsafe and worried about my mom and worried about her safety and my safety, that just there was like clip after clip after clip after clip after clip, and I just allowed whatever was happening to happen. And then eventually I started to cry. And I had this huge awareness that men aren't there. The men that I count on, the men that I love the most are not there when I need them the most. And I'll tell you, I have seen this play over and over and over again in my life. Now, is that my mom's fault? No. Is that my dad's fault? No. Is that my fault? No. It was a subconscious programming from my childhood. But with the time and space I was able to just be with that pain and be with that pattern as it showed up, I had a release. I cried and I felt lighter. And it was like I had insight. When you have insight, that's internal awareness and wisdom. Now that I can take this lesson of my life and just it gets transmuted by love, you guys. Because now I understand that there was this subconscious pattern within me that was always needing to prove that men would abandon me when I needed them the most, because that's how my little brain internalized that moment and then that moment stacked, right? So I'm really dissecting one of my personal experiences for you so that you understand that when we experience, I'm putting in quotations, pain, because it's what we call it. It's really misalignment. It is discomfort. It's when we don't feel aligned with our true selves, and that creates pain either physically, emotionally, or mentally and spiritually. And I'm dissecting this for you so that the next time something happens for you where you're feeling uncomfortable, where you're feeling some form of pain in your life, there's an indication and it's an opportunity that there is some pattern that has been playing out in your life on a subconscious level. And you know what? All it wants is to be brought into the light of consciousness. Again, it's daytime here, so I can't do it, but it's like turning all the lights off at nighttime in a dark room. And then you turn on one light, and it illuminates the whole darkness. So, this pattern that is being kept in the darkness, the reason why we feel it in the first place is because we're the light. We actually get to be the light for that darkness. So, if you start to see that it's not a personal thing, that your pain is actually an opportunity for you to be the light for everything that's hidden within you, it lightens the process a little bit. It's not fun, but you kind of get not used to it, but familiar with this process of uncovering everything that's within you, right? And the way this happens can always be different. The awareness, the insight can always be different. But if you understand this, you can come from a place of, hey, wait a second. The pattern is in the dark. I'm not in the dark. Okay? I am the light. The truth of me is the light. And the light is so strong that it can illuminate darkness. The darkness are the patterns that have been subconsciously playing out in your life that you have yet to be aware of. You might be aware of the outcome of them, like this thing that keeps happening, but you're not aware of the root source of why it's there in the first place. Yeah, this is about illuminating the source. Illuminating the source. Okay, that one specific occurrence took, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. And it was just like expansion. It was like, okay, I can release that pattern now because there was a moment when it's unconscious and it's in the dark. You actually are operating by it. You have an identity with it without even knowing that you have an identity around it. But when it's brought into the light, when it gets illuminated, it also gets liberated. And so you expand more. Your light now gets to go further, right? It's like here's a good analogy. If you were in the dark room, but it was daylight outside, okay? But you have blackout curtains. And the first step is a light comes on, illuminates the dark room, but there's still darkness there. But then you open the blackout blinds and the sunlight from outside can come in. And then you open the door and the light from the rest of the house gets to come in. Do you see what I mean? But you don't stay in the dark room. You get to leave the dark room. And the light now gets to fill up that dark space. So every time we come up against a pattern, against pain, against discomfort, this is the process of what we're doing. I don't think it could get easier than that. And I love that metaphor that it just dropped in. It just dropped in because of the room I'm sitting in. And I literally, like, I'm looking out a window facing you guys, and I have blackout curtains there. They're open right now, though. Amazing. And look at all the lights I have on. So cool. So I really hope that helps you. This reminds me of, when I was at Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long event in Denver, wearing his hat, by the way, believe, behave, become, be, live. That's how I see it. Be, have, and become. Okay. You see, all three words start with be. First you be it, then you live it. First you be it, then you have it. First you be it, then it comes to you. then it comes to you. It hasn't got more simple than that. Anyways, that was just a cool segue. So there was one meditation, and I talked about this on one of my podcast episodes. I'm sorry, I don't know which number it is. Where it took me 3 hours to sit in discomfort because there was a girl right beside me who's fidgeting and she was throwing off body heat. I don't need to go into the story, but sometimes the pattern that shows up is so intensified because of your environment and also because of the light that you actually are. See, God, the universe will never give you more than you can handle. And it will only, the only persona, your ego, will think it can't handle it. It will look for an out. I need a way out. There's got to be an easier way out than just sitting here. Well, my primal survival egoic mind and all these patterns are fighting for its life. When literally I was sitting in a beautiful dark room with an incredible man, Dr. Joe Dispenza, emanating the divine, leading us through this meditation at 4 a.m., surrounded by amazing people. And I just happened to attract this woman beside me who was, I don't know, sick, throwing off heat, her breath, to the extreme. But here's the thing. Sometimes there's more than one dark room. Sometimes you have a whole house that's dark. Sometimes you have a whole property that's dark and has been taking up so much space in your energetic field that one day you will be given the opportunity to break through it with your light. And it happened. Now, would I have sat there for that long? The meditation itself was 4.5 hours. I'm guessing it was around the 3 hour mark because we weren't looking at our watches while the girl next to us was. Would have I sat there for 3 hours on my own? Probably not. Like, let's get real. Probably not. When you're in an environment like that, there's something that happens. Like you don't want to move. You want to be the person who overcomes yourself and because I know what's on the other side of that. What did I just say? On the other side of that is liberation. Like all of a sudden I released this this pattern that had been holding so much energy and space. And once it released, magic happened. I went so deep, y'all, into the void. And when I say the void, that's beyond time and space. I let go of so much of who I thought I was, so much of the personality, so much of the ego, and I was just pure loving awareness, and I went deep and I had a mystical experience. But would I have sat that long at home? Probably not. Because I'll tell you one thing, after that meditation, I came out of it. I was like, I know what it takes. And that's the truth. I actually know what it takes. Does that mean I'll actually do what it takes all of the time? No, this is the dance. This is the dance between being divine and being human. That's the dance. Do I hold that against me? No. Can I take tangible steps and break that up into like bite-sized pieces? Absolutely. I'm up to 3 meditations a day now because I know myself well enough that if I have a meditation in the middle of the day, it does something. And my one in the morning is the most important one. My one at night is actually the most difficult one. So everybody is different, but I'm going to be real with you. This is about being transparent, right? Because we're all a work in progress. We'll never get it done. So somehow we have to find the humor in it. We have to enlighten ourselves. We have to realize not to take it so seriously and yet take it seriously when it really matters. But my nighttime one is probably the most challenging one because my brain, when I lay down in bed, it's like there's an on switch and it just goes. And I have a story that I am so envious of people who have the off switch, who can fall asleep to subliminal messages, who can do what Neville Goddard does and just think of the wish fulfilled and fall asleep in that. Not my brain, not my mind. No, it is on overdrive. And so the nights that surprise me, and I have the randomness, which isn't randomness, of easily falling asleep without all of that chatter happening. That's a huge win for me. And so you'd think meditating at night would release all of that. But I will meditate for 45 minutes and feel so relaxed and so at peace. And the minute I lay down in my bed, so again, that is also a pattern from my childhood. And whenever it's fully ready to be revealed to me and taken care of, it will be. I've worked through layers of it, but am I going to stress about it? No. Because the moment I start resisting that, this is the other part of it, right? Pain, we resist. We don't like it. I mean, we don't. We will do anything we can to not feel pain. Pain is not something we like. And so be it. So we will do whatever it takes to not feel that pain. We're taught not to feel pain. And again, I encourage you to put pain in quotations and maybe start developing a new definition for pain. Maybe pain is just a pattern that's showing up saying, hey, witness me. Hey, become aware of me. Hey, would you mind sitting with me for a little bit? It's through it, right? The liberation is going through it. Feel to heal. The wound is where the light gets in. The wound is the darkness. The wound is the pattern. But you're not that. All these patterns make up who you think you are, make up the ego, make up the personality. And that's not bad either. Our world is made up of patterns. Vibration creates patterns. And you'll soon learn and understand that whatever vibration that you're experiencing or that you're creating has a certain frequency, and that frequency creates a certain pattern. And we just happen to be a species who repeat patterns. And so to undo a pattern, we have to either become aware of the old one so we can absolve it and liberate it from who we think we are. And then we get to create a new one. We get to create a new one from a new level of awareness, from a higher frequency and a higher vibration. I can't talk about meditation enough because for me, true meditation, dare I say, is the ability to sit with oneself and know thyself. The ability to sit with oneself and know thyself. And the more you sit with oneself, the more you know thyself, because you get to start to know all of the patterns, and you'll start to see that the patterns aren't you. They're not the reality of you. They're just patterns, and patterns can shapeshift and change. They just can. It's energy. That's what you are. You were created from nothing and will return to nothing. But in that nothingness is frequency and vibration. It's all information. So let's end on that note, because when this pain comes up, guess what it is? It's information. It's a certain frequency and vibration. That is information, and it has information for you. It has information for you because it's actually working on your behalf, and it's working on your behalf. And if you gather the information and you hold the space for the information, you will understand that this information was only ever there in the first place to liberate you back to wholeness, to understand that you're already whole, you're already complete, you're already enough, you're not too much. And in fact, your too muchness is enough. It's beautiful. I love you. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with whoever you think this is going to be valuable for. I know even me saying it out loud is so incredibly valuable, and I will be listening to it back because I will forget. The process again of being human and divine, I will forget, and I will need the reminder. This has happened so many times for me. Well, I'll record something and just be an open space for divine downloads and speak this out loud, and then it will come back into my life when I need it the most. So whenever you're listening to this is perfectly right for you. So if you found this valuable, please like it, share it, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my podcast. I love you. I love you. And I want you to know how much love is available for you when you can sit with yourself and know yourself.